when what's his name? The guy who started Atari.
Nolan Bushnell.
It was more open. In other words, the people there were friendly. It was fun working with them. It was fun, writing stuff for them, and it was fun flying out there. It was fun. But eventually it became a business, I think. And then the fun stops. Hey, the damn thing paid for a Porsche and a BMW.
I'm Kevin Savitz, and this is an interview episode of Antic, the Atari 8-Bit podcast. Ron and Lynn Marcuse, also known as RLM Microsystems, are the husband and wife team who created many applications for the Atari 8-Bit computers, including Weekly Planner, Home Inventory, Data Management System, Diskette Librarian, and Utility Diskette II, which were all released by Atari Program Exchange. Weekly Planner was later reworked and became Timewise, which was released as an Atari product. They also created medical and dental office software for MMG Micro Software. Thanks to Wade of the Inverse Ataski podcast for his help in research and writing questions for this interview. Wade has reviewed several of the Marcuse applications on his podcast. Visit inverseataski.info for those. This interview took place on May 14, 2015.
Can you start by telling me how you got started with Atari computers?
I've been a programmer, most of my life, actually, on mainframes, okay?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, when the microcomputers first started coming out, and Atari wasn't the first, I believe. There was a Sinclair, I think, too.
Mm-hmm.
Before, in other words, I had Apples, I had Ataris, I had Commodores. As I said, because I worked in the field, and as a business programmer analyst, so that's one of the reasons why I never got into games. I just don't like them. So in other words, when the first Ataris came out, I realized they were possibly a little better than the competition, and we bought one or two of them, I think. We eventually wound up with like three of them, I think.
Well,
I had like two 800s and a 400.
So were you like a business owner, and that's why you needed business software?
No. I was employed by the city of New York, the Board of Ed, as a programmer analyst. In other words, as I said, I worked mainly on mainframes, but I enjoyed doing it, so I figured if I enjoyed it in the office, I would enjoy it at home too. And I was right. I love making things work like this.
So you and Lynn have been together this whole time?
Yes.
That's amazing.
She liked it too, and then she wound up getting a degree in computer science.
Oh,
yeah, that kind of started me off.
Yeah, computers.
Hi, I didn't know you were here. Hello.
Yeah, just picked up a little while ago.
My background was more in engineering, but back in the 60s when I got out of college, it was hard to find a job as an engineer, so I got into computers where they were hiring left and right. I mean, I had friends who were engineers who were selling hot dogs at Shea Stadium because nobody wanted them. There wasn't much work, so I noticed that, and and as I said, computers, is something I was always interested in.
Yeah. And we had two sons. When they were getting older, I decided I needed something to do once they were older, so I went back to school for computer science and wound up working in the field. Bellcore and then Telcordia Technologies.
Yeah. She worked for the company that was Bell Labs.
Oh, okay.
After the breakup.
But then the breakup, and then she wound up on the phone side of it.
Right. So, at what point did you decide? Okay, these we're having fun with computers at home. Let's see if we can make a product. How did that come about?
Well, everything I wrote for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it wasn't everything. I mean, okay, but I mean, the first few things I wrote, I wanted to organize my rather extensive record collection. So I wrote a database. It was not wanting to write something which only which only handled records. I wrote a database type program where you can define the elements and what they are and how they act with each other. And then a friend of mine told me I should send it to APX, and hey, I won.
Thanks. You won a prize for one of your programs.
I won 4 or 5 prizes, I think.
Did you?
Yeah,
wow.
We got a trip out to
California.
San Francisco for one of them.
Wow. Tell me about that.
Well, I submitted. I think I won for the database program. Data management system was called, I think. I wound up writing all the drivers for it. And it was index files, and the Atari had no way of handling that. So in assembler, I wrote their routines to process basically ICM files. Mm-hmm. And Atari used that in other products too.
Awesome.
So in other words, you would hand the routine a key, and then the key came back with the record. It didn't have to search through 1,000 records. It knew where it was, and that's basically the way it works on a mainframe too, which is why I went that way.
Which I think gets into a question I have about your coding style. A friend of mine dissected the code for your weekly planner program, and he said the code quite literally calls very short routines all over the place, and it makes it difficult for him to understand it because it's all these little tiny routines. And he wanted to know, Wade was wondering if that was just like your coding style, or was it deliberate?
No. I had to live in 64K. That's why. Well, actually, because the operating system grabbed some of that, the program and the data and the indexes had to live in 48K.
Yeah.
So in 48K, you can't just write straight code. You gotta make routines which work in 30 or 40 places. Otherwise, it's not going to fit. Okay. Nowadays, the problem doesn't exist. I mean, the coding has gotten rather gargantuan.
Yes.
They're at the point now where a good program comes on a Blu-ray disc now because it won't fit on a DVD disc.
Right. So you wrote these little routines that could be called again from multiple places.
Right, and but half of them were in assembler too, because it was much faster. Why interpret the instructions when machines get quite capable of acting on the binary code already. And as I said, I was a programmer anyway. I mean, so starting in an assembler was, no problem actually. Although in 6502 assembler, you don't really have a lot of things done for you. In other words, if you want to multiply something, you got to add and shift. Once again, in a routine. You can't just say multiply A times B. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
You can't because it has no multiply instruction.
Right.
So you got to add shift all over the place.
So did you do extensive flow charting, or did you keep this all in your brain? How did you keep track of all these little routines?
Well, hey, we were 35 years ago. Come on. I imagine I did a flow chart. I imagine so. They probably want to run out already, but I organized what the program had to do. Mm-hmm. And then I probably flowed it first, and then then the main routines. Yeah, as I said, I use a lot of subroutines because in 48K you don't have that kind of room to work with. I mean,
right.
And mind you, as I recall, the programmer or the user, is allowed around 40K maybe. I think. Mm-hmm. of the 64K, the chip is capable of addressing.
Right. The BASIC took up space and ROM and all that. Right.
Yeah, no. So where ROM steals some of the address spacing, and it was probably in the high 30s actually. So I had to squeeze everything into 38K. I'm saying, and it's just not going to fit. Okay. It's fitting there.
On the Timewise splash screen, the date on the splash screen is October 17th, and I want to know if there's any significance to that date.
On the flash screen?
Yeah, the splash screen. When you start the program up, I don't know, there's like a little welcome to Timewise thing, and like the sample date there is October 17th, and I was just wondering if that was like your wedding anniversary or something similar like that.
No, nothing.
Probably just the day he did it.
Yeah. I probably used the current date. I mean, October 17th is nothing really to me. I mean,
all right.
Or okay, maybe Atari one of that date for all I know. I don't know.
Interesting. It was interesting.
I wrote the program for APX. They wanted to buy it, so and I had to make a number of modifications for them. I'm not even sure. If I was doing it for myself, I wouldn't put a splash screen in front. The program will load to a menu. I'm saying. Right,
just get right to business. But Atari like to put.
Yeah, I'm not going to waste time, on and memory, on hello, how are you? It's October 17th. What are you doing today?
Right.
That's not me, and that's especially that's not me when you have 38K to live in.
Right. So did they give you like a flat fee for that, or you paid a royalty for Timewise, or?
I got a royalty for all the APX software. Timeline, I think they bought it outright, as I recall. Yeah. I think they did actually. But as I said, it's 5 years ago probably.
I know. Yeah, no, I've done many of these interviews, and I get that answer a lot. I don't know. It was a long time ago. I get that.
I don't know. Where were you on October 17th, 1982? I have no idea.
Where were you? Did you ever sell software outside of APX or Atari, like through other publishers? Or?
I wrote stuff for Apple also too.
Really?
I wrote a medical billing system that ran on the Apple II, and other stuff too. I ran a for Atari, Apple, and Commodore. I wrote it was called Career Counselor, I think. You would tell it your interests, and it would recommend a career for you.
Huh. I've never heard of that. That's interesting.
Remember that one?
Long time ago.
Yeah, I forgot exactly what it did. I mean, but that ran on the Apple and on the Atari and Commodore. I never put any of the software onto a PC though. I didn't like the first PCs.
Why didn't you like them?
Possibly because I work with IBM, every day of my life.
Oh,
IBM, give me a break. Not again, it's no. But eventually I became a PC user. I did write stuff on PCs, but for work, okay.
Right.
For the Board of Ed.
So I'm more interested in hearing a little more, if you can, about when they flew you out to the Bay Area, and did they give you a trophy? I mean, what?
I think it was 1981, although I might be wrong. I won. I think I won two or three awards. And they flew us out to Frisco. They put us in the
St. Francis Hotel.
St. Francis Hotel. And the first time we went up, Lynn had a slight problem with the glass elevators. They're outside the building, and
Right.
we had no idea. Suddenly, we're in daylight. What the hell is this?
Where did you live at the time? I mean, I don't even know what state you're in.
New Jersey.
New Jersey, all right.
New Jersey.
And you're still there in New Jersey?
We lived in New Jersey. Well, we're snowbirds now, so we lived in Jersey since about the early 70s, I think.
71.
71. Although now we're Florida residents, and we spend the summer in Jersey.
So let's see. I just want to go down this list and see if there's anything, any stories or anything you can think of. The list I have here is weekly planner, home inventory. That sounds like maybe that was your first one. Home inventory?
Yeah, I remember that too also, I think.
Data management system.
Yeah, that was the one that won the grand prize that year, I think.
Yeah. Diskette Librarian.
Yeah. That would catalog, what you had on disks.
Right.
But you didn't have to enter the data, as I recall. You just inserted the disk, and it read it and I found the stuff and cataloged it for you. It's very cool.
Sure.
About 35 years ago. Give me a break. I started writing one game a year or two later, I think. But as I said, I don't like games. So in other words, as the game came together, I played it, and I said, hey, well, it wasn't finished, mind you, okay? Right. I said to myself, I don't enjoy this. Why am I doing it? So I stopped.
What was the game? What kind of game was it?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was some. I don't know. It was some space game.
But it just not your thing.
No, it wasn't asteroids. It wasn't Space Invaders. But it was something along those lines, I think.
Neat. So at some point you changed your name, like the company name in the catalogs, from Ron and Lynn Marcuse to RLM Microsystems. Did you become a real company for some particular reason, or?
Yeah, we did. In other words, money was coming in, and I felt more comfortable. We weren't incorporated. I believe we were a partnership, I think. Mm-hmm. The two of us, I think. But as I said, and there were tax advantages because you could write off expenses much easier. Hey, the damn thing paid for a Porsche and a BMW.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. So that was APX royalties that did that?
Well, and Atari's, buying some of the software too.
Right.
You got to remember, I wrote drivers for them for a lot of their database programs too.
You wrote drivers for, printer drivers?
They also bought my ISAM, assembler routines. I'm saying, okay.
Oh, okay.
The way a program doesn't have to. In other words, with 38K, you can't read in an entire file. You just so if you read on a compressed index, that'll point you to where on the floppy, the data is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they just bought routines from you and used them in different software.
Well, they bought Timeline because they wanted those drivers too. Also, I think.
Yeah. So, Lynn, I haven't heard much from you. Tell me a story about those times.
Oh, I think he's covered most of it.
Well, I did the programming. Lynn did all of the documentation, all of the user instructions, everything. And
the testing,
and the testing also too. So I bounced things off of her too. Should I do it this way or that way, et cetera.
Uh-huh.
So she was the analyst. I was the programmer also.
So that seems like I don't know. It wasn't too much working together all the time, and sometimes people try to balance work and home life, and it's just too much.
I like her, so I enjoyed working with her.
Well, it wasn't just that. I mean, I was we still had our two sons were at home, and I was going to school also. So we were, it was busy time all around. So
right,
it
sure.
just worked out.
Sure. You still have an Atari machine?
No, I about a year ago I powered it up. It still works.
He's got everything. He doesn't throw things away.
I have the Apple also. I have the 2E, I think. The Commodore, I think I tossed.
Well,
I never liked it anyway.
You're here.
Never liked it. Actually, I never liked the Apple either. I mean, because Apple has this attitude, I think, which a lot of programmers don't like. Everything you do for them, they own, and you got to pay them, for everything. So.
Yeah, I thought you'd like to know that my buddy Wade, who was looking at your the source code for Weekly Planner, he made it Y2K compliant. So.
Oh. Well, that was nice of him.
Back in '82, I mean, it wasn't on anybody's mind.
No, I know it wasn't on anybody's
mind. The late 1900s, it was in everybody's mind.
and nothing happened,
I know, that was a big deal,
They were saying that the world's going to end.
Right.
Never happened.
Right. So how did your time writing Atari software come to an end? And at some point, it must have petered out,
No, I don't know. I got busier at work, maybe.
Yeah, I think Atari was petering out.
And Atari was also petering out too, I think.
Right.
And when the PCs were knocking them and Apple around a drop, I think.
And there were more coming out, more games and things. So the industry changed.
And then, Atari was bought several times, I think.
Yes.
First by Time Warner, I think.
Right. It wasn't even Time Warner yet. It was just Warner Communications.
I know.
And then they sold it to.
In other words, when what's his name? The guy who started Atari.
Nolan Bushnell.
It was more open. In other words, the people there were friendly. It was fun working with them. It was fun, writing stuff for them. And it was fun flying out there, It was fun. But, eventually it became a business, I think, and then the fun stops.
Yeah.
In other words, everybody at Atari we met the first 2 or 3 years, they were very friendly, very supportive, and very helpful. Eventually, when the crunch came, some of the people I believe were let go, especially the friendly ones. And, it became a business.
Yeah. So you bought a couple of cars. I'm still kind of stuck on that. That's amazing. I've interviewed a few APX people, and they're just
we leased two German cars for like 3 or 4 years.
Nice.
Hey, I mean, the royalties, were coming in. Hey, and well, one of my hobbies, one of my other hobbies is cars too. So I love cars.
Nice.
Well, I possibly love cars more than a computer. So I restore them and I build them actually.
Yeah. Nice.
In the past 30 years, I probably restored a dozen cars, mostly Corvettes.
Well, are you working on any car projects now?
Well, I about a half year ago, I built a race car, a 63 Corvette race car from scratch, actually.
Wow.
In other words, I basically built the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, it took 13 years.
Yeah.
To actually do it. And I was planning on racing it, but the damn thing is way too fast. I'm 13 years older.
Yeah.
And I had money tied up in the car, which wouldn't be insured out on the racetrack. So.
Right.
So it's now a show car, sort of.
Awesome. So what haven't I asked you about the Atari Days that I should have?
I don't know. As I said, I got into it because I was a programmer. I love doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather do things I enjoyed, meaning not for work. Okay.
Right.
And as I said, and it was also a tool. I mean, I cataloged, many things on there. Records, CDs, etc. I mean, So and that's probably why I wrote the software too. I wrote it because number one, I enjoyed writing it.
Right.
Number two, I used it.
Sure. Did you ever get feedback from users? Mail saying
occasionally.
Yeah.
Occasionally, yeah.
Right. I have a question I'm asking you, both the same question separately. If you could send a message to the people who are still using Atari computers today, what would you tell them?
All three of them, or what? Well, it doesn't have the firepower of any of the newer machines. I mean, it's almost a toy. I couldn't do the things I do now on a computer with the Atari. It's not going to happen. I mean,
sure,
much more limited.
I mean, my computer is a hopped up 8-core AMD chip on there. Everything. I mean, it's stronger. It's a lot more powerful than the mainframes I used when I wrote the Atari software.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it's a quick machine. I mean, and then it has gigs and gigs of this, and the hard drives. I think I have like 4 terabytes on there. I think maybe. And an Atari floppy held what, 90K?
Yeah. It seems crazy,
isn't it? I mean, 90K is nothing,
right?
Compared to what you can do now.
Lynn, same question to you.
I just have to say I would be surprised people are still using it. I didn't even realize that was still around.
Well, it's just hobbyists, people who are interested in old technology, and some of it's nostalgia and playing games.
Yeah,
and
I guess. Yeah, we haven't powered it up in a long time.
Yeah.
About 2 years ago, I said, well, hey, what the hell? I plugged it in.
And that's about as far as he got.
The other thing, about a half a year ago, I heard that an Apple I sold for like $60,000 on eBay.
Yes. Yeah. The Ataris don't do that.
I had an Apple I, which I tossed out 40 years ago, I think. So.
Oh, man. You could have bought another car.
Because I bought the Apple II.
Uh-huh.
The Apple I was basically a circuit board with a box around it.
Right.
The Apple II was a real computer, sort of. Okay.
Well, that's why the Apple I sell for so much now, because a lot of people like you threw them out or sent them back for the rebate, or
Yeah, no, something. Yeah. The old Ataris were actually very good machines for the day and time.
Yeah.
And I suppose they're still usable, but they have like 0.001% of the ability of what a new machine has.
Sure. Yeah.
It would be like driving around in a Model T Ford, which did 18 miles an hour.
Which, if you had one, you would drive it.
but on the throughway. No.
No, not on the freeway, but
you get killed there. I mean, it's a toy.
Right.
Basically, my older cars I have are basically toys also. I mean, they don't have the conveniences or the technology of what they're making now. And I was published there half a dozen times too, I think also. I remember getting royalties from 1 or 2 books. The books may be in one of the libraries in the house. Hold on. Right. So I'll give it to David. Computes World of Atari or something like that?
That sounds familiar.
I wrote a bunch of stories for Compute magazine.
Okay.
And then And then I think that they came out with a book.
Right, like Compute Best of Atari, Volume 1,
something like
3.
that. And also there was another book too, where I had some articles in there also. Okay, I found Compute's Atari Connection. Okay, Compute's first book of Atari, Compute's Atari Connection, and Compute's third book of Atari. I probably have stuff in all three.
Nice. And see, I'm looking at the list
and I found a packaged copy of Career Counselor. Wow.
Oh yeah. Wow. Did you find the Atari version?
I actually found it.
Wow.
I don't know. It could be the Atari version, or it could be the Apple version. I'm not sure. It's sealed actually still too.
Wow.
Okay, you enter your likes and dislikes concerning interests, abilities, nature of work, and other goals through a set of easy-to-use menus and displays.
Huh.
The program will generate a list of careers which satisfies your preferences.
Huh.
I work with a guidance counselor from a local high school.
Mel Lebowitz?
Something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Mel, it rings a bell.
Yeah. Nice.
And I found a boxed version of Timewise. Wow.
Nice.
Yeah. I still have this stuff.
Cool. Let's see. I'm looking at. I see in Compute Magazine you wrote an article about making cryptograms puzzles.
I did. Okay.
Yeah, by Ronald and Lynn Marcuse, Freehold, New Jersey. Yeah, I don't know. It's called Cryptograms.
A long time ago.
Yeah, that was January 1982. And then there's another one called Atari Program Library, which looks like a simple version of a home inventory sort of thing, like a really short version of a home inventory.
I'm in the office now, so I have 6 Atari plaques hanging on the wall.
Wow.
6 of them.
Shoot a picture with your phone.
Librarian, data management system, home inventory. What else is there? I don't know. Let's see. They're hard to read.
Yeah.
Utility Diskette II and Weekly Planner. Weekly Planner became Timewise.
Right.
With a number of modifications, actually.
Yeah. And so did Atari...
Was that the one that won the trip to California?
No, that was data management system.
Oh, okay.
I have a big silver and black plaque next to the other 6 hanging on the wall.
Okay.
I mean, they should come down already because they're 35 years old. Oh, actually, there was another Atari program too called Phil and Bill.
Phil and Bill?
Phil and Bill.
I don't know that one. What is it?
It was a software for managing the dental office.
Really? Like Phil, like Phil a cavity?
Phil and Bill. Okay. Phil the teeth, Bill the guy. Okay.
Wow. Do you have a copy of that?
Never
heard of that one.
I have no idea.
Wow.
I remember doing it. One of my neighbors was a dentist, and probably still is actually. And he had Ataris, and he wanted to automate his office on the Ataris. So he gave me the specs. I wrote the software, and he used it for like a couple of years. Then I converted it over to the Apple also, I think, too. And that sold that. The Atari version sold like 3 or 4 copies, I think. The Apple one sold a dozen or so.
Yeah. So was this a very expensive program? Because I mean, for a business thing,
I forgot. I don't know.
It seems like yeah, sure. Just like something for use in a specific business might be expensive.
Yeah. The company that marketed the Apple and Atari versions of Career Counselor, actually, One of the boxes of counselor is marked Apple, and one's marked Atari. Hey, makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah, one's Apple, one's Atari. Okay. That company was a publisher, MMG Micro Software.
Mm-hmm.
And they probably also marketed the medical and dental software too.
Okay, cool.
The medical one I think was Apple only. The dental one was Atari and Apple both. And as I said, there might be 10 copies of the one floating around somewhere.
Right. Yeah. Not a big seller and probably not a lot kept. You might have only one.
Ataris were regarded more as game machines, I think.
Yeah.
For a doctor with 1,000 patients to do this could be problematic for the software too, because how would he store all this data on one or two floppies?
Right.
And nobody had hard drives for the Atari.
Sure.
Maybe, I had one, but I probably wrote the Apple medical system because my Apple has a hard drive.
Right.
Yeah,
but a little dentist office is not going to have a hard drive in order to use to manage their 500 patients or whatever. That's. Yeah.
I think I paid more for the hard drive than I did for one whole Atari system. I think.
All right. I think I'm about out of questions.
As I said, I'm not the world's best public speaker. Okay.
So you get him going, then he doesn't stop.
I mean, what you got me interested in what I was talking about, and then I forget that hey, I was a stutterer.
Well, I really appreciate you stepping out of your comfort zone and talking to me. I really do, and thank you both.